Imagine being dragged through the gates of a Nazi camp. Barbed wire above you, watchtowers on every side. There is no escape. As a woman, your body is no longer your own. Every day could bring humiliation, torture, or death. And the cruelty isn't random, it's systematic. Subscribe to Darker Days for more stories from history's darkest corners. If you believe these women should never be forgotten, hit the like button now. 1. Public beatings. From the moment women entered Nazi camps, they were met with violence. Guards often beat new arrivals in front of others to establish dominance. Women were struck with whips, sticks, or rifle butts, sometimes until bones broke. The goal was humiliation as much as pain, to show that resistance was impossible. 2. Forced stripping and inspections. One of the most common forms of punishment was forced nudity. Women were stripped in groups for inspections, regardless of weather or conditions. These weren't just medical checks, they were meant to degrade. Women described the shame as worse than the cold, standing exposed before leering guards and barking dogs. 3. Shaving and branding. Heads were shaved bald, stripping women of identity and dignity. In some cases, prisoners' hair was used in Nazi industry, stuffed into mattresses or uniforms. Numbers were tattooed onto arms, reducing human beings to inventory. For women, this erasure of self was psychological torture that lasted long after liberation. 4. Starvation as punishment. Food was always scarce, but disobedience could mean total deprivation. Women were locked in cells with no rations for days, forced to watch others eat. Malnutrition weakened bodies, but the shame of begging for crumbs broke many spirits. 5. Roll call tortures. Women were sometimes forced to stand outside for hours, day or night, rain or snow, for endless roll calls. Those who collapsed were beaten or shot where they fell. Survivors recalled the horror of watching friends freeze to death beside them, unable to move or help. 6. The standing cells. In camps like Auschwitz, women could be locked into tiny standing cells, no bigger than a closet, where 4 or 5 prisoners were crammed together. There was no room to sit or lie down. Hours stretched into days. Many collapsed unconscious from exhaustion and suffocation. 7. Dog attacks. SS guards often unleashed trained dogs on female prisoners. Some were ordered to stand still while dogs tore into their legs and arms. Others were mauled to death as warnings. Survivors described the terror of hearing barking and knowing what came next. 8. Whipping posts. Women accused of resistance were tied to wooden posts, skirts lifted, and whipped in front of others. The lash tore through flesh, sometimes leaving women unable to walk. The humiliation of public punishment deepened the wounds more than the whip itself. 9. Forced labor until collapse. Women were forced to carry heavy stones, dig trenches, or haul loads until they collapsed. Rest wasn't allowed. Guards often beat those who slowed down, while others were trampled in the rush to keep pace. Many died from exhaustion before a bullet was ever fired. 10. Water punishments. In freezing weather, women were forced to strip naked and stand under icy hoses. Some collapsed unconscious within minutes, bodies blue with cold. Others were left drenched overnight, freezing slowly to death. 11. Medical tortures. While some experiments targeted men, women were especially vulnerable to Nazi medicine. They were injected with chemicals to induce sterilization, exposed to freezing temperatures, or subjected to surgeries without anesthesia. Many died in agony. Survivors carried permanent injuries. 12. Forced sexual humiliation. Though officially denied, many survivors testified about sexual abuse by guards. Women were groped, assaulted, or forced into prostitution in camp brothels. For many, the trauma was worse than physical pain because it attacked not only the body, but the soul. 13. The death marches. Toward the end of the war, women were driven from camps in long, brutal marches. Starving and freezing, they walked for miles under armed guard. Anyone who fell behind was shot. Survivors described watching entire groups collapse on the roadside, never to rise again. 14. Executions by hanging or shooting. Public executions were routine. Women suspected of resistance were hanged in front of fellow prisoners. Others were shot during roll call, their bodies left lying in the mud as warnings. The fear was constant. Death could come at any moment. 15. Crematorium punishments. Perhaps the most haunting punishment was being forced to work near the crematoria. Women carried corpses, shoveled ashes, and inhaled the stench of burning bodies daily. Some were executed and burned themselves, erased without a trace. For female prisoners, Nazi cruelty wasn't only about death, it was about breaking every layer of humanity before death came. Their punishments were systematic, public, and designed to erase dignity. For those who survived, the scars never faded. If you made it this far, you've just heard one of history's darkest chapters. Subscribe to Darker Days for more stories they tried to bury. If you believe these women should never be forgotten, click like to help share their story. Which do you think is worse, physical torture or psychological humiliation? Let us know in the comments.